2026 is already looking like a big year for movies. We picked 30 films we're especially curious about. Let's break them down. A middle school science teacher wakes up on a spaceship. He has no idea how he got there, but he needs to pull himself together fast because the fate of the entire planet depends on him. No surprises there. Once again, it's Ryan Gosling carrying the weight of the world on his own. It's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the duo behind Spider-Verse, one of the most inventive blockbuster series of the past decade. We're in good hands, and the novel it's based on is written by Andy Weir, the same author behind The Martian and Artemis. Robert Eggers has built his career on dark, gothic stories, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. After Nosferatu, he's now diving into a werewolf story set in 13th century England. And once again, he's reuniting with familiar faces. Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Lily Rose Depp are all on board. Not sure we're ready for another Frankenstein story, but here we are. After making her feature debut with The Lost Daughter, Maggie Gyllenhaal now takes on a horror story inspired by Bride of Frankenstein.
Until death do us part.
Set in 1930s Chicago, the film follows the monster as he seeks companionship to ease his loneliness, leading to the resurrection of a young woman who becomes the bride. It's exciting not just because of the cast, but because this time, a story written by a woman is being directed by a woman. Spielberg is back, and this time, he's finally bringing a long-developing passion project to the screen. Steven Spielberg's UFO thriller Disclosure Day stars Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor. The film imagines humanity's first encounter with life beyond Earth, and the first trailer poses a simple but unsettling question. If someone proved to you that we're not alone in the universe, would that scare you? This year, we're getting not one, but 3 films starring Robert Pattinson and Zendaya together, and all 3 are high on our watch list. The first one follows a couple whose relationship starts to unravel just days before their wedding, after a truth comes to light. Whatever that truth is, it sparked a bunch of theories online, especially on Reddit. It's turned into a mystery of its own. We'll see how it plays out. It's directed by Christopher Borgli, who previously made Sick of Myself and Dream Scenario. The death of Robin Hood takes us to the final days of the legendary outlaw. This time, Robin isn't the fearless hero in his prime. He's worn down by years of conflict, pausing to look back at his life, and quietly preparing to say goodbye. The film stands out not just for taking a different angle on a familiar story, but also for bringing together Hugh Jackman, Jodie Comer, and Bill Skarsgård, a trio that naturally raises expectations.
I'll keep you safe. I will keep you safe.
One name we definitely won't be missing anytime soon is Anne Hathaway. This is just one of 5 films she's appearing in this year. Mother Mary centers on a once famous pop star trying to stage a comeback, reuniting with someone from her past to make it happen. From the trailer alone, it's clear this isn't just another rise and fall story. It looks like it's going somewhere darker, maybe even a little metaphysical. So this feels less like a music drama and more like a psychological thriller. The cast also includes Michaela Cole and Hunter Schafer, 2 names we already love from I May Destroy You and Euphoria. Ridley Scott isn't slowing down either. He's back with The Dog Stars, starring Jacob Elordi. The film is set in the aftermath of a pandemic that's wiped out most of humanity, and it's based on a well-known novel. Margaret Qualley, Josh Brolin, and Benedict Wong round out the cast. The Trojan horse ended a 10-year war in a single night. All Odysseus wanted after that was simple: to go home. But the journey back would cost him another 10 years, and prove even more brutal than the war itself. And honestly, any year with a new Christopher Nolan film is a good year for cinema. He's one of the few directors who can pull completely different audiences into the same theater. And this time, he's taking on one of the biggest epics ever told. We're also getting a new adaptation of Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility this year. You probably know Austen best as the author of Pride and Prejudice. This isn't the first time the novel has been brought to the screen, and the previous adaptation was widely loved. There aren't many details yet about this new version, but honestly, seeing Daisy Edgar Jones lead a period drama is reason enough to be curious. The Social Network took us back to Facebook's chaotic early days and walked a very careful line when it came to telling a biographical story. Sorkin's razor-sharp dialogue and Fincher's control behind the camera turned what could have been a dry story into something genuinely gripping. And of course, Facebook, or rather Meta, hasn't exactly had a quiet few years since then. The Social Reckoning centers on the Facebook Files scandal that ultimately led Mark Zuckerberg into a public reckoning. This time, Zuckerberg is played by Jeremy Strong. Mikey Madison steps in as the former Facebook employee who leaked the documents, with Jeremy Allen White playing the journalist who helps bring the story to light. Aaron Sorkin is once again writing the script, but this time, he's also directing. And if you're wondering about David Fincher, we'll get to him in a moment. Tarantino has made 9 films so far, and for a while now, he's been saying he'll retire after his 10th. At one point, he announced a movie centered on a 1970s film critic. That didn't happen. There were also rumors about a third Kill Bill. That didn't happen either. In the meantime, he apparently wrote a script focused on Brad Pitt's character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but didn't seem all that interested in directing it himself. So now, that script has landed at Netflix, in the hands of David Fincher. Are we thrilled about that? Not exactly. But a Tarantino script directed by Fincher? Of course we're curious to see what that turns into. Ruben Östlund, the sharp-tongued Scandinavian director behind Triangle of Sadness, Force Majeure, and The Square, is back with another satirical take. This time, he's teamed up with Keanu Reeves and Kirsten Dunst. The setup is simple. On an ultra-long flight, the entire in-flight entertainment system crashes. No screens, no music, no internet, nothing. And with nothing to distract them, the passengers slowly begin to unravel. After dominating 2024 with Brat, Charlie XCX now takes that whole era and reimagines it in an alternate reality with The Moment. She plays herself, but this isn't a straightforward retelling of real events. Instead, the film seems more interested in the artificial side of the industry, the isolation that comes with popularity, and the emotional toll that fame can quietly take. Over the past few years, a lot of Marvel movies have been hyped as the big comeback, and then didn't quite live up to it. After a while, the pattern became hard to ignore. Marvel's post-Endgame strategy hasn't exactly gone according to plan. The momentum just wasn't the same anymore, and people started tuning out. So what do? You bring the old favorites back. Avengers Doomsday packs in a massive cast, way too many names to list, and it's clearly banking on nostalgia. The question is whether that nostalgic energy can turn into something more and really pull audiences back in. Another Marvel movie we're really curious about this year is the new Spider-Man. By the end of the last film, Peter Parker had lost everything. No one remembers him, and he's completely on his own. Even the name Brand New Day nods to a comic arc where Peter's life is reset and he goes back to basics, back to being a street-level Spider-Man. Punisher has officially been confirmed to appear in the film. As for Daredevil, there's no positive updates so far, and honestly, there probably won't be. David Robert Mitchell, the director of It Follows, returns with a new horror film titled Flowervale Street. Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor lead the cast. Set in the 1980s, it follows a couple whose quiet suburban life starts to take a strange turn. One of the biggest cinematic events of the year is easily the final chapter of Denis Villeneuve's Dune trilogy. This time, the story jumps forward 12 years. Paul Atreides is no longer the leader of a rebellion. He now rules as Emperor of the Known Universe. But a powerful alliance is forming in secret against him, and the mysterious beings known as the Face Dancers will play a key role in that uprising. Robert Pattinson joins the franchise here, and he'll be one of them. Iñárritu, the Mexican director many of you know from The Revenant and Birdman, is returning with a Tom Cruise-led action film. The story follows a man described as the most powerful person in the world, who sets out on a mission to stop a disaster he himself caused from destroying everything. And if that premise sounds a little like another Mission Impossible movie, you're definitely not alone. It's shaping up to be a big year for sequels too. Nearly 20 years after the original, The Devil Wears Prada is coming back, with the same creative team behind it, from the director to the screenwriter. Another unexpected return, Ready or Not 2. And we say unexpected because most people who saw the first film probably didn't think it would get a sequel. This one picks up right where the original left off. Grace may have escaped that terrifying family, but the game clearly isn't over. She finds herself, along with her sister, pulled into something even bigger and even deadlier. The Scream franchise continues, this time with a new Ghostface targeting Sydney. No matter how many times she survives, it seems the past just won't let her go. One of our all-time favorite franchises is back. This time, Toy Story looks at where toys fit in a world dominated by screens and technology, and what happens when childhood starts competing with the digital age. DC is adding another chapter to its universe this year, and this time, it belongs to Supergirl. Superman's cousin finally gets her own story on the big screen, with Millie Alcock, who made such a strong impression in House of the Dragon, taking on the role. From what we've seen so far, she looks like a perfect fit. The other DC project on the way shifts the spotlight to a villain, and it sounds like a dark one. This time, the story follows an actor at the peak of his career who's attacked and left completely disfigured. In trying to fix his face, he experiments with treatments that start changing not just how he looks, but what he is. And if that wasn't enough to raise expectations, horror veteran Mike Flanagan is among the producers, which gives you a pretty clear sense of the tone they might be aiming for. Familiar worlds aren't going anywhere either, and one of them is Peaky Blinders. The Immortal man picks up about 5 years after the series finale, this time set against the backdrop of World War II. Thomas Shelby returns to a Birmingham under bombardment and finds himself drawn into covert missions inspired by real historical events. We're also heading back to Panem. This new Hunger Games film takes us about 25 years before the original trilogy, to the quarter-quell that Hamish Abernathy won. Greta Gerwig, who most recently gave us Barbie, but who many of us still associate just as strongly with Frances Hay and Lady Bird, is kicking off Netflix's ambitious new Narnia era. The film adapts The Magician's Nephew and takes place before the Narnia stories we've already seen on screen. It's designed as the first chapter in a planned 5-film saga. Gerwig is both writing and directing this one, and she's already set to return for the second film as well. Star Wars is heading back to theaters with a Mandalorian and Grogu movie from Jon Favreau, taking the hit series from streaming to the big screen. You can share the films you're most excited about this year in the comments. We'd love to hear your picks. And of course, by this time next year, there will be plenty of news stories we never saw coming. Films that aren't on this list, but that we'll end up loving and talking about anyway. That's one of the best things about cinema, the surprises. Here's to a year of watching these films in theaters whenever we can, and tuning out the noise long enough to talk about cinema on our own terms. Wishing you all a fantastic year at the movies.